The number one reason why you haven't finished your dissertation yet is because you are afraid to get feedback. Hi, I am Dr. Marvette Lacy, and I help doctoral students finish their dissertations in 12 months or less by following a simple 10-hour weekly routine. And today, I am going to talk to you about the importance of feedback. Now, before you click off, you are probably someone who's like, I ask for feedback all the time. I'm always asking people for their thoughts. And I want to define feedback in a way. I am not talking about when you send a draft that you're just so exasperated at looking at and you're over it that you send desperately to your chair and you say, can you look over this and give me feedback? No, that is very general. No one knows what you're asking them to do. And how we know that is because when you do get their feedback and it says, keep going, I look forward to the finished draft, you have an attitude and you think, see, people can never show up for me the way that I show up for them. And what I want you to sit down and ask yourself, what am I actually asking for when I send something and I say, please look over it? But there's also a larger group of doctoral students who simply hoard their writing and they never submit it to anyone to look at, let alone their dissertation chair. And I want to talk about the reasons as to why you might be holding back from getting the feedback that would so much help you get to graduation. As a side note, I would like to say, you're not looking for feedback, most likely. You're looking for permission, but we'll definitely talk about that. So I know for many of you, the word feedback makes you tense up. It makes you really nervous. And there's so many emotions associated with it. But you cannot get to your defense, to graduation, be called a doctor without feedback. And I am talking about critical, scathing feedback because you are a doctor. You know, like this process of you writing a dissertation, it's just formality. You are already a doctor. You are already someone people see as an expert. And part of being an expert is being open to and being able to respond to feedback or criticisms of your work. The whole process of defending a dissertation is you responding to critical feedback and standing on like, this is why I did what I did, and this is why I did what I did, and this is why it makes sense. That's a defense. You are defending your decisions. And so you need practice to be able to do that. How you get practice is as you submit draft after draft to your committee for feedback. They are preparing you for that defense. So feedback is a requirement. And I like to tell clients, the more feedback, the better. The more you submit drafts, the better, the faster you get done. I understand that everyone is interested in getting done quickly, but if you're sitting there being like, when will graduation ever come? Feedback. Here are 4 reasons that I find that students don't ask for feedback. Number one, as we all are, we have a fear of judgment. This is your precious work, your precious ideas that are not really fully like fleshed out. And so you could have some reservations about submitting your work when it's not in its final state. And so that will cause you to hoard the writing and to look over it and really try to like edit it as much as you can before you submit it because you are afraid of judgment. You are afraid of what is my chair going to think about me as a person when I submit this draft. Hear me. You're not so much concerned about your work. You're concerned about what your work says about who you are as a person. I am asking you to learn to separate who you are, your worth, from your work. Your work does not determine your worth. You are already worthy as a person. You are already worthy and deserving of being doctor because you made it this far. The goal of feedback is to judge the clarity of your ideas, not who you are as a person. So I hope that helps with the fear of judgment. They're not judging you, they're judging your work, which is what you want them to do as someone who is an expert in this field. Because the more that people can give you feedback about your work, the better prepared you are to defend your arguments, the way that you see things, and to help people learn a different way of approaching the work. Reason number 2 why you might be afraid to ask for feedback is conflicting voices. So you may have submitted your work to your chair and to other committee members, maybe a mentor, maybe a cohort member, and every like you submitted it to 5 people and you got 5 different perspectives back. And now you don't know which one to follow, which goes back to number 1, but I'll come back to this. You are like, do I go with what my chair wants me to do? But my committee member is a content expert. Do I go with that person? But my friend knows exactly what I'm trying to say. Do I go with their feedback? And this usually goes back to you haven't spent enough time really asking yourself, what do I think? What do I want to put forth? And what that requires you to do in order to answer those questions is to learn how to trust yourself, meaning learning that how you think about things, how you see things are just as important, if not more important, than the people you ask feedback from. When you can learn to see feedback as it's just their perception of how they understood what I was trying to say, it'll help you to think more intentionally about, is that how I wanted to communicate it or present those ideas? Or is there a different way that I can present what I'm intending people to take away from the work? That's the goal of feedback. Feedback is not to say you did this 100% right, you get an A plus. No, you're no longer a student in coursework. You are a doctor, you are an expert. So the feedback is to help you in presenting your ideas in a clear and organized way. So when you do get conflicting voices, it should come back to, it should be, when you do get conflicting voices, you want to filter that through the lens of, what am I intending to do? What's my goal with this work? What do I want people to take away from this? Who am I writing this for? Only you can answer those questions, and the feedback allows you to know if you're on track to what you want to do. But I hope that you're hearing it starts and ends with you, your perspective, yours. It starts and ends with you and your perspective and what you hope to see with this work. Reason number 3 why people are not asking for feedback is you're emotionally burnt out. Like, you may have been physically burnt out, but you probably slept for a couple of weeks and you took a break from the dissertation. So physically, you got enough energy, but emotionally, you're burnt out. How you know that you are emotionally burnt out is if you're saying, I just need motivation, or I just want to, lock myself away from the rest of the world and throw my phone in the trash. It's just right. I just I just want to be done. Like, if all you can think about is, I just want to be done, you may be experiencing some level of emotional burnout. And in that state, it is extremely challenging to give your work to someone and them criticize it, because emotionally, you don't have the capacity to take any more blows, if you will, like, especially to your ego, to your work, to anything. And in this phase, what I tell students is, you need to take an intentional break. And usually what they say is, but girl, I already took a break. I haven't been writing for months. And I need to remind you, and I remind them, is that wasn't intentional. That was by, you had no choice. Your body set you down. I'm asking you to intentionally sit yourself down, because the difference is when that voice starts saying we should be doing something, we should be reading, we shouldn't just be laying here, you can respond back to it like, nope, I'm going to take a break for, I say, at least 2 weeks, but I'm going to take this 2 week break. I'm going to recalibrate. I'm going to feed myself. So I'm going to take care of my basic needs. I'm going to go around loved ones. I'm going to watch my favorite show. I'm going to do what I need to get back to an emotional baseline so that I can handle a challenge such as a dissertation. Many of you are trying to run on fumes, and you think that if you just push through, that you can rest at the end. And I've seen so many students not be able to finish or really struggle, like, with consequences to their health, because I am one of them pushing through. And I'm telling you, there's a different way. I work with thousands of students, and I know it is a different way that you can get to graduation. And you will have times where you have to, what I call, put yourself on time out. Because what's the point of becoming doctor if you are not well enough to enjoy it? What's the point of pushing through to the end when you don't even know what happens at the end? And you're so, now you're like completely burnt out, and you probably have to go take a grippy sock vacation because you didn't push yourself to the edge. That's not a badge of honor. Nobody hands out awards because you exhausted yourself to the point now you are physically unhealthy. Nobody's giving you a reward for that. Take the 2 week break so that you can have the capacity to handle the feedback that's going to help you get to graduation with confidence and certainty, and actually awareness of, like, I did this amazing thing. And then number 4, which is at the core of all of this, but number 4 is, you're stuck in perfectionism. You actually wear it as a badge of honor. You think, oh, look at me. I care about the details. Nobody is working as hard as I am. And that's why you're stuck. And I mean that with all the love in my heart. Nobody wants a perfect dissertation because they don't exist. People want a done dissertation. I know you probably have heard this a million times that a good dissertation is a done dissertation. And let me break that down what that means. It means you write the most boring, simple dissertation. And only after you finish that version do you say, do I want to add a little bit of razzle dazzle to this? But you, because you are such a high achiever and you think that you have more energy and capacity than you actually do, you say, I'm going to work smarter and not harder, and I'm going to make it good now so I don't have to worry about it later. That is why you are stuck. That's why you're not getting feedback because you have so many ideas swimming around and all of them seem good, but it's not enough just to have the idea for you. You want to make it the best and the biggest thing you've ever done. Like you want to prove to people that you know what you're doing when it comes to research. Like some people would say, like, I want to show potential jobs, employment opportunities, the gift or the resource that they're getting when they hire me. And all of that pressure that you're putting on yourself is stopping you from doing the actions that would guarantee that you graduate, like asking for feedback on your boring, basic, simple ideas. It goes back to this thing that I see a lot is like, make it exist first and then you can make it good later. Most people want to skip the make it exist first part and they want to skip to good, but you don't have the skills or the know how. Like, you don't even know if your ideas are clear enough yet to make them good. Your ideas don't even exist on paper yet. So, what are you trying to perfect? You're doing a lot of work in your head and you're not doing it on the page, which means you're not making the progress that you need to make in order to get to graduation. And that very perfectionist mindset is the very reason why you're not submitting drafts because you don't think they're done. You don't think it's good enough. You don't think it's worthy enough. When all your chair and the rest of your dissertation committee is, they are pleading, if you would just put some words on a page and turn it in, we can help you. But they don't have anything to help you with. So why does this matter? Why am I going down this whole thing? Is because you cannot get to the end. I hope we have established by now you cannot get to the end without feedback. And feedback, you don't just get feedback once and then you go to the defense. No, you're going to get multiple rounds of feedback on your dissertation before you and your chair and the rest of your committee decides it's good to go. Like, it meets the requirements of the outcomes of the dissertation process and you can go to graduation. If you continue to hoard your writing, you are slowing yourself up from the process. You can't skip feedback. I will say this multiple times. You cannot skip the feedback. You cannot skip submitting drafts that you don't think are ready and getting feedback on that and having to address that. You're going to do that so many times, you're going to be ready to fight your chair. But that's the point. The closer you get to wanting to fight them, the closer you are to graduation. When you get there, this will make sense. You think avoiding the feedback or, oh, let me look over it or let me give to so is you working faster or like smarter. It's not. It's just, it's slowing you down because the one person or the committee of people who need to see it the most haven't seen it. And if you leave humans to assume, we're always going to assume the worst. So when you don't show up with your chair with something for them to review, when you keep saying, I'm working on my literature review, but it's been 6 months, when you keep giving them half written outlines, expecting them to give you a dissertation full of feedback, you are slowing yourself down. This process requires you to say, no, I don't think this is 100%. I do think that there's a lot of work to be done, but I'm going to submit it anyway, just as a checkpoint. I'm going to see how are my ideas landing. Did I structure this in a way that is logical and it flows well? Am I making my central argument clear in my dissertation? Because by the way, your whole dissertation is an argument, meaning it's your perspective of how you see a particular problem and what you believe should happen to solve that problem. That has to come from you. No one else can tell you if you're doing that right. And your dissertation is a written communication of, here's what I believe, this is why I believe it, and this is what I think you should do as a result. You need multiple rounds of feedback and people looking at it and talking through it before you can fully feel like I clearly communicated my argument, my ideas. So I want you to start shifting how you see feedback. It's supposed to be messy. I encourage students in the Finish Your Dissertation Institute mid drafts when they're 60, 70% done. It is going to hurt your heart, your perfectionist heart, but do it anyway. Because at 60 to 70%, the ideas are there, they're clear. There might be some wordsmithing you want to do, there might be some citations you still need, you might still have some formatting things that you want to do. But for the most part, like it's solid. That's when you want to get feedback. Doing it earlier than that, people won't understand what you're saying. And doing it later than that, it's going to make you more irritated because when they come back with significant changes and questions and ideas, you're going to be like, well, I did all this work. Do it at 60 or 70%. Remember that you are the expert. You are the leader in your dissertation process. Everybody is taking their cues from you. And so everybody's going to be asking you, what are you trying to say? What do you want me to take from this? What should I be looking at? And if you don't have practice answering those questions, your defense is going to be extremely challenging to get through. You probably won't even get the approval to get to the defense because you don't have enough practice. And how you get the practice is through feedback. And I really hope that you adopt an attitude of progress over perfection because perfection doesn't exist. There's always something we could do differently. There's always something we could do to change it. But when you focus on, am I making progress? Something I ask clients to do and finish your dissertation is you want to you want to commit to 5 drafts. So if you're working on your literature review, 5 drafts. If you're working on your findings, 5 drafts. If you're working on the entire dissertation, 5 drafts. Because it's going to take about 5 drafts before you, your committee, everybody's on the same page. You can't skip that. That is the writing process. Ask anyone, whether they're writing a dissertation, an article, a book, or what have you. It requires multiple drafts, multiple rounds of feedback. So when you focus on progress, you focus on, okay, I got draft 1 done. I got draft 2 done. I got draft 3 done. It gives you momentum to keep going. So the way that I help students work through this is through the Finish Your Dissertation Institute. It is the signature program where we give you the tools, the resources, and the accountability you need to finish your entire dissertation in 12 months or less. And we teach you a weekly 10-hour routine that makes it very easy to follow. And it helps you to make incremental progress. So by the time you get to 12 months or sooner, you are a whole doctor. And we use a system of planning, a system of writing, and a system of accountability to make sure that happens. The planning system, make sure you know what to do every day, every week, every month, every quarter, and for the entire year. It is written down and is very easy to follow. The writing system, where we teach in our 10 pages in 2 days writing retreat, is a 5-step system that helps you to go from I have concepts of ideas to a fully document that you could submit to your chair and get quality feedback on. And then the system of accountability is we have a weekly call system. We ask students to come to at least 1 call a week. It is your weekly reset to get your mind in the game, to be held accountable. Did you do what you said you were going to do last week? And to help you troubleshoot or encourage you when you get stuck, overwhelmed, and confused. These 3 things together guarantees that you will get to the end of the dissertation process. I want to invite you to join me for a workshop because I want you to get a taste of this system for yourself. On Thursday, October 23rd, I am hosting You Can Keep Waiting or You Could Graduate. It is a workshop where I'm going to be talking about the things that block students from getting to graduation because they think they need to wait for their chair or their committee to give them feedback or the go ahead to keep going. And a lot of what we do in Finish Your Dissertation is we find strategies and systems of what can you do in the meantime? How do you keep yourself moving forward? Even if you have a chair who can't be as responsive as you would like, that is completely free. You can hit the link in the description box to join us, and I'll see you there. I hope that I at least got you thinking about submitting for feedback. I hope I at least got you clear on the purpose of feedback and why you need it. And so I would love to hear from you in the comments. tell me, when is the next date that you're going to submit a draft for your chair to review to give you the feedback that you need? And like I said, if you need help with the responding, make sure you come to the workshop. That's going to do it for me. I will talk to you next time. Bye, y'all.